Justin Frenette here, co-founder and CEO of Him and Her and host of the Precon Recon podcast, where we talk about all things brand and marketing in the pre-construction real estate market. I invite leaders to share their knowledge and strategies for success, empowering our community to thrive now and in the future. This episode is brought to you by Him and Her, a creative agency specializing in exceptional branding for real estate and high-end consumer goods. Over the past 9 years, we've helped shape and launch over $3 billion in pre-construction real estate projects, crafting and executing marketing strategies that deliver extraordinary results. From rentals to sales and from townhomes to master plan communities, we unlock the full value of every project through strategy, brand, storytelling, and experience, all powered by data. If you're launching a pre-construction project and want to learn more, reach out to us at himandher.ca. My guest today is Darcy Rai, founder and president of Real Property Data. His company is redefining how the multifamily, for sale, and rental market is understood, providing top developers, investors, lenders, and brokerages with the intelligence they need to make better, faster decisions. Darcy, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Justin. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, before we dive in, I always ask my guests what it is they love about what they do.
Yeah, I love the collaborative approach of the data intel that we're providing. So we're really the middleman, if you call it. So being on the ground and really talking to the sales centers and the leasing agents and the developers to understand what's happening in their projects, as well as our own internal and secondary sources and getting their insights and feedback on how they're seeing the industry through their own lens. And so just tying all those pieces together is something that really I value in what I do.
That's awesome. Now, looking back at your career, were there any defining moments that set you on this trajectory? Did you work in data? Did you always find data got you excited?
Yeah, I never really understood the importance of data or how it was used, whether it be in real estate or other industries, until I was introduced to it and with my first job after post-secondary, working for, a local data company. I came into the real estate industry very green. So the first few years I spent just getting my bearings and understanding how the industry worked and how all the different stakeholders fit together. But once I realized how essential the data was to the decision making of all these various stakeholders and the impact it had on the overall industry, that's when I really started to grow a passion for data intel.
Okay, the light bulb went off.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked at BlackBerry back in the day on a big data team, and yeah, it was crazy the amount of data that would gather and the levels of business decisions that were based on even simple things like battery consumption, et cetera. And data gets messy pretty quick. You got lots of it.
Right. And I think we've always inherently been using it, but maybe sometimes we didn't even know. Just growing up playing sports, you pick up on patterns of what the opponents are doing or what your teammates are doing. And you may not be analyzing it and tracking it at the same level, but you're shaping your decision making on that information that you have. So yeah, it plays a big part.
Now, in your professional journey, do you have any mentors that helped you along the way?
I've always learned best by observing and listening to others. That started growing up playing sports through my coaches and my teammates. I really value learning from the experiences of others. It's kind of like a cheat code. You can learn from their mistakes without having to go through those same scenarios and challenges, as well as identifying opportunities or being able to skip steps to get to somewhere. So yeah, if somebody else has put in all that work and has that value to share, I'm always looking to adapt to that and to take it all in.
Okay. Is there one piece of advice that stood out from either given to you directly or that you've observed that has had the biggest impact on you to date?
I would say as a kid, just one of my uncles used to always tell me, just put your head down, work hard and shut up. And that was more so with sports. And I think I've definitely sometimes I'm challenged to pick up on the part of shutting up, but putting my head down and working hard and has been something that I really adapted to. And I find that in any circumstance or challenging times, you can usually work your way through it if you have the willpower.
I like it. Just keep swimming. That's what I say.
Exactly. Is that from Finding Nemo?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I always think of the duck that's calm on the surface and paddling like crazy underneath the water. Um, Now, experience wise, you've been a development manager, a market analyst, now founder of Real Property Data. What was the gap in the market that led to you creating Real Property Data? When did that light bulb moment go off?
I would say as a development manager, I really started to appreciate and understand how critical data was to everyday decision making, whether it's through the acquisition process, whether it's when you're designing your project and negotiating with the city or putting together your go to market strategy. You're always needing data to back up decisions. And especially with the company I worked for, most of our partners were institutional partners who were more hands off on the development side. And so we have a huge responsibility, or had a huge responsibility at our hands of using their capital to proceed with these projects.
Right.
And so it just really amplified the importance of any decision we're making with our partners' money, that we have sound factual data to back those decisions up, or else we're really just guessing.
Yeah. So then, how does real property data differ from maybe more traditional market reports or self reported data like people will get from an Altus group?
Yeah, the key difference is that we track everything at the unit level, and
Okay.
we use secret shopper style collection methods to ensure that we're getting the most objective data straight from the market. Traditional reports, they often rely on developers or sales teams self-reporting their numbers, and the problem with that is you usually get what they want the market to see, not necessarily what's happening. And so our approach is built on robust internal processes that let us capture the highly detailed data in real time and consistently over time. And so that way, we just want to be presenting what's actually happening on the ground in these projects to our clients, because yeah, that that's the fact of the matter.
Yeah. As soon as I saw one of your LinkedIn posts showing the data, like let's just, for example, one beds that we're selling, and you showed a floor plan of the one beds that we're selling, I knew you had something special there because all one beds are not created equal. And there's so much nuance to that that you don't get at the high level summaries.
Right. And I think over the last 8 years, maybe from 2016 to 2022, it wasn't as important to look into those details, because it was more important to just get the project online,
Yeah.
because it was going to sell out no matter what.
Yeah.
And so the cost of analyzing and revising your unit mix to perfect it almost became more of a burden than a value add.
Yeah.
But today, the amount of risk there is with every development that moves forward, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage by not going through those steps, those critical steps to make sure that the product you're delivering it is something that there's actual market demand for. And when you launch it, it's going to be successful because you've done your due diligence to understand the target consumer that's
Yeah.
going to be living in this product afterwards.
And the reality is, although, like all hard things, a hard market helps refine you into a better version of yourself and a better product for the end user. So I really think that though there's definitely challenges, the outcome is going to be better development projects and better end users happier with their product. Now,
Absolutely. I agree.
you're onboarding a lot of new customers. I saw Peterson, CBRE, Strand, many others. You're great at sharing those new partners. What's one of the most rewarding partnerships to date, and why? Either in how they've used the data or feedback you've gotten from them.
Uh, Honestly, every partnership is really rewarding for us, and we value those. Anytime a client puts their trust and resources into our program, it's something we take very seriously. What I would say has been especially fulfilling is how collaborative many of these relationships have become.
Okay.
In a tough market, our clients are often coming to us for additional intel on specific projects or certain neighborhoods or areas. And that information that we're getting for that client and then also putting onto our website, it has a ripple effect, because there's generally several other clients who also are looking at that market and maybe haven't reached out yet. And
Yep.
so they really appreciate the level of detail intel they're able to get. So yeah, just working together with their clients to understand and identify what's most important for them in their decision making process. Yeah, that's been extremely rewarding.
Okay. And what's something you're working on that you're particularly excited about, either a new feature or a new partnership? Just what's getting you excited right now?
Yeah, I think we've got to a point now where we've built an extremely strong foundational product that provides very great insights to the market. However, I think we've all seen over the last year or two is that no matter how smart we may think we are, there's something called AI that can do anything 10 times more efficient and effectively than we can.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, now that we're so developing the cleanest, I guess you could say, data set that can feed into these AI models to help decision making moving forward is something we're really excited about. There's several different avenues of how AI can be used to optimize the data, and finding the most realistic and suitable solution that can actually be used in everyday decision making is what I'm excited to get.
Okay. Now, one topic you've talked about is that developers who rely on a generic price per square foot benchmark isn't enough anymore. And what you're seeing is that, developers and builders are looking more closely at this unit level demand to make product decisions. And that could be, it sounds like things like unit mix, amenities, design features. How are you seeing them make these decisions, or how is that per unit helping drive those decisions in projects?
Yeah, I would say today most projects are won or lost in their unit mix design. So if a project has viability and it's going to come to market, the decision of your unit mix and the proportion of each unit type and the sizing and the placement within the building is what's really going to make or break the success of a project. Traditionally, we've been able to just to value a site or a certain area based on a price per square foot, because there was just so much demand and everything was sold. But today, it really depends on the buyer or the renter in that market, and yeah, optimizing your unit mix to align with what they're looking for.
Okay.
And there's tons of variations of things that you need to look at, but I would say that what our platform allows our clients to do is to make those decisions in real time most effectively. And so when your architect is designing your unit mix and providing you with different options, being able to being able to compare those certain unit types and specifications with real-time data on the market to see how it's performing will allow you to make the most efficient decisions. Whereas in the
Okay.
past, a lot of it has been on gut feeling
Yeah.
or just on what the architect says works based on highest efficiency, but
Yeah.
maybe the actual unit plans and don't align with the demand of the market.
Okay, that makes sense. And I also saw there was a collaborator that worked with your data and ran a regression model on 673 leased rental listings and uncovered what they said was what leases fastest and what kills velocity. So that kind of data, are you seeing marketing teams use any of these insights to optimize how they're branding or launching projects, not just how they're being designed in the unit mix?
Yeah, I think understanding the competitive market out there and knowing what you're going up against. For example, if there's a certain number of studios in your project and the rest of the market has a whole bunch of other studios, you're now all competing for this small segment of buyers or renters, generally that fit to a certain demographic, younger professionals, students. And so understanding how those target consumers like to be communicated to, through what channels, what they value, and what really drives their decision making is crucial. So I think the data and the market can really help build a roadmap for marketing strategies today.
Okay. Now, on that, there can be times where, let's say, the marketing team is focused on that brand, that storytelling, that demand creation versus the developer who's looking for feasibility, and even, if you take into account the brokerages who have feet on the ground, how does this data help centralize a source of truth for all three people who all have different opinions and thoughts on what needs to be built, what it needs to look like, and how we need to sell it?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the beauty of real estate is that we have these different compartments of the pipeline, the development pipeline, and everybody has the motive for everyone is the same at the end of the project, but acquisitions has different things that they're looking at compared to development, compared to sales and marketing. But I would say at the end of the day, feasibility is the foundation. So project has to be feasible first from a financial standpoint in order to make it to life. And from there, once you can build a model that is feasible, then those other levers can come into place. But until you have a feasible project where the numbers make sense, you don't have a project really.
Yeah, because the reality too is you can only polish a turd so much. Nobody's going to buy it.
Exactly.
Now, it sounds like you've got a mix of end users. Who would you say is utilizing this most? Like, are developers using this for land acquisition decisions? Are they using it more for final product mix decisions? Who's gaining the most value, and how far out or what kind of users or breadth of people can use this data that you're seeing come to you?
Yeah, the data is being used at all different stages of the development pipeline. In the acquisitions, you're having to really get creative and for numbers to make sense today. No one's really out there buying land because the numbers don't pencil. And so finding different ways to make the numbers work is what will bring an acquisition to the finish line. And so just having that intel, that real-time intel to understand, which areas are moving, which unit types are moving, at what price points, where the ceiling is, which units or areas have more sensitivity than others, can help give you the intel needed to develop your acquisition strategy. On the development side, designing your unit mix, that's a huge part of it. Or if you already have a unit mix design and a project design, and now you want to decide when the right time is to go to market or how to cater that sales and leasing strategy. That's also a huge component. That would be from the developer standpoint.
Yeah.
For the commercial brokerages, they're looking at the same things as an acquisition team would, but if they can provide more guidance to their clients and spot out things that maybe the acquisition team isn't looking at, that can really provide them with additional expertise and help them bring deals to the finish line. Appraisers are really using the information as well, and
Yeah.
marketing firms.
What about, do you see any architects or interior designers using the data to drive their recommendations on what layouts should be built?
It's a good point, and we've just started having conversations with several architect firms.
Okay.
And that was really the point that I've been trying to drive home is that historically architects have just thought from the point of design and maximizing efficiency,
Yeah.
but they aren't really doing the step that the developer is doing of looking at the market data to see, okay, yeah, this is a great design and we can have the highest efficiency, but will this sell?
Yeah.
You know, do two
Will
beds
anybody
sell
live
at
there?
exactly, yeah. And can someone afford this? It's great, these beautiful two beds that are 1,100 square feet, but then based on what the developer needs to achieve, that puts that unit, say, at 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And now, okay, what's the price difference between that and a townhome in the same market, or
Mm.
that and a old single family home? See, the architects, I think, will need to start looking at it from the more of a business lens moving forward, and not as much from a design lens.
Okay. Now, I recently saw as well that you mentioned there's been over 700 new purpose-built rentals in East Vancouver that have come online this year, a big chunk of them being studios. And I really have a two-part question to that. A, are you seeing the shift to secondary products like rental or secondary markets like outskirts? And then second to that is when you look at how units are selling, does your product provide any data on discounts or incentives or any of the pricing levers that the developers or builders are using on the sales or on the lease ups?
Yeah, so I think from an affordability standpoint, the secondary, more suburban markets are continuing to show that they're robust and they're not going away. In the urban cities inside the city of Vancouver, there's really no condo development happening because there's not a buyer there today at the prices needed to make a development profitable. All the rental that's being built is generally being fueled by CMHC programs, financing programs. So we're seeing a lot of these rental projects that do make sense strictly because of the advantages of the CMHC financing programs. However, that's brought on so much supply into the market where now rents, we're starting to see downward pressure. And not only that, we're just seeing even at these lower rents, it's really, really tough to lease up a building. And we've only seen maybe the first wave of new rental development hit the market over the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Every month, every couple months, that's going to double and continually increase. And so the I think we're seeing the importance of the leasing campaigns and leasing and marketing strategies. Historically, you haven't had to put much thought into it because everything would lease up. There was just such a limited supply and so much demand. But now with so much competition in the market, you're really having to differentiate yourselves and you're actually having to put thoughtful marketing campaigns and leasing strategies in place in order to drive absorption.
Definitely. And then what about those pricing levers? Does your unit level lease up data say whether a unit was sold at a discount or if there was any incentives or anything like that on that particular project?
Yeah, good question. I would say that's probably one of the most important data points for tracking today. Tracking the list price is no longer
Okay.
sufficient because the net price takes into consideration these huge discounts that are being offered. So on the rental side, sometimes it's 1 month free rent or 2 months free rent,
Mm-hmm.
but then it also really depends on the details of those incentives. Is it 1 or 2 months on a 12-month lease, or is it on a 14-month lease? Which months are they giving free? Is it the first 2 months that are free? Is it the last two? Is it the first and the last? Those are really crucial details in these incentive offerings. And for a renter that has several options in the neighborhood, all within their budget, some offer different amenities, another may have a better location, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's really going to come down to affordability as well as desirability. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, these incentives are becoming the difference maker today, and I don't see them going away anytime soon.
I think that's such a critical piece of the puzzle because not only does that help your financial modeling and forecasting, but the marketer, just like us when we come in, want to understand what is the competition doing, what's working, does what's working align with the brand and the story of the development, because you have certain developments that you don't, even developers who don't want to be discount developers who maybe don't offer free months, but what are other levers they can pull to compete against what others may be offering in the market. I think that's valuable intel when you do a competitive analysis from a brand and marketing perspective, not just the feasibility of the project, which is great. Now, the other
Yeah,
thing I saw is
absolutely.
you recently presented in Vancouver on the rental market and an update at BMO on the trends in the market. So, what are some of those trends that listeners should be aware of that will influence how we bring projects to market?
I think the new amenity offerings that we're seeing are really starting to be a difference maker.
Okay.
Some buildings are simple, small wood frame buildings with little to no amenities, and it
Okay.
allows that developer, that building owner to keep the rents a bit more competitive.
Okay.
But there's also a target consumer that is willing to spend a little extra money to have these new and innovative amenities with amazing views and just overall improved lifestyle.
Yep.
And so just seeing the different offerings, and it's not just your standard fitness facility and games room and rooftop deck with barbecue. They're starting to get a lot more curated and customized and attracting a certain consumer segment.
Okay.
And so understanding, what drives the decision making, or what your consumers really value in their amenities is huge, because sometimes you can replace a gym membership and some sort of social activities within your budget to spend more towards your rent, which will offer the same, if not better. And so I think all those things are really being taken into consideration.
Okay, Darcy, I've got one last question for you. For developers or marketing managers listening, if they could focus on just one or two data points to improve their project success in the current market conditions, what would they be?
It really comes down to unit mix and sizing.
Okay.
Sizing is the most important because sizing will determine your overall absolute value, the price that the end user is actually paying for rent or to buy the unit, which is where the consumer is most sensitive, most price sensitive. And so optimizing the sizes of your units can really help you align the price point with what the market demands.
Amazing. Well, we've been talking to Darcy Rai. Darcy, for people who want to learn more about you and your product, how can they get in touch with you?
I'd encourage you to visit our website, realpropertydata.ca, and schedule a meeting. It'll be with myself, a quick 30-minute online demo, and we're happy to set up trial access afterwards. The proof is really in the pudding with our product, and we want as many people to see it as possible because it's really a tool that can make a big difference in what you're designing and your overall success of a project.
Amazing. Darcy, thanks so much for joining me on the Precon Recon podcast, brought to you by him and her.
Thanks, Justin.